Welcome. It's your man, God of Dots, back with another episode of the Audible. Week 18 is just wrapped up. We're going to break down the latest and greatest. Also, talk about some of the coaching firings that have already happened. Black Monday, as it always does, always claims a couple of souls in the NFL. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And is Belichick going to be forced out? We'll talk about all of that. But let me first, say, hey, hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody had a very productive weekend. And the playoffs are here. Playoffs start Saturday. We'll talk about that on Thursday's show as we kind of look forward to our wild card weekend in the NFL. And schedule makers in the NFL, why would you put a game on Monday? Who puts a playoff game on Monday? Hey, this Saturday, Sunday, I don't want any excuses from anybody that has to play on Monday. Well, you had a shorter week than everybody else. Like, whatever. Um, well, let's break down some of this week 18 action. Playoffs are here, and week 18 shaped out very differently for a couple of teams than we thought going in. And we're going to start with probably the most disappointing team going into week 18. I thought it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here, the Jaguars playing a Tennessee Titan team who had nothing to lose. Were playing the role of spoiler. Jacksonville understanding that, hey, with the Steelers win, and we'll talk about the Steelers win over the Ravens the day before that Saturday. Jaguars know, hey, we need to win to really secure our spot. With the Steelers win, couldn't afford a loss. You lose, you're out. You lose, you're out. And the Jaguars are what the Jaguars have been to me the entire season. Heckle, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Up, down, up, down, up. Yes, Gator Girl. I'm glad you showed up to talk about come in with the cowboy hate. Hey, man, at you. But we're going to talk about your Jaguars. You can contribute some of that to Trevor Lawrence getting nicked up in the second part of the season before a team that was at 8-3. That was right there in the hunt, not only for a playoff spot, but was looking in contention to possibly challenge for the number one seed in the AFC to fall off the cliff in the manner in which they did. Only team that looked worse coming down the stretch than the Jacksonville Jaguars will be the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll talk about them in just a second. But Jacksonville understanding, hey, Pittsburgh wins. We got to win because a win not only gives us a division, gives us a home game. You can't chance it. It was no other way to kind of play it. Trying to hope that other teams lose is not the way. You don't want to back into the playoffs. And we'll talk about backing into the playoffs when we talk about those Eagles. But Jacksonville is what I thought they were the whole season. You are what you are. You are what you are. And it was a team that was inconsistent. Even with an 8-3 record, I was one of the few out here that was saying, hey, Jacksonville is not that good of a team. I got questions about them. They're not a consistent team. Don't put your faith into them. But, you have, the fans that's going to back them, and rightfully so, because, hell, I'm going to back my boys all the way to the Super Bowl. I'll be damned if I go against them. But sometimes you have to be honest with your team. And when we get here on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the playoff matchups. Green Bay concerns me, but we'll talk about that more as we preview Wild Card Weekend. But back to this Week 18. Jaguars went out there and played bad. Like I said, you can attribute some of their performance down the stretch to the amount of injuries that Trevor Lawrence was having. No excuse, though, to miss the playoffs. For a team to start 8-3, to miss the playoffs. And I told you the AFC a lot more competitive than the NFC when we're talking about teams jockeying for position throughout the season. You start falling off, no room for error in the AFC. And I told you it was going to be a 10-7 team that was not going to make the playoffs. And it happened. So Jacksonville, where do you go from here? Do I think Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback in this league? No. He hasn't shown it. This year was so turnover prone. 21 interceptions this year for Trevor Lawrence. And you would think for a guy that has 21 interceptions, he's tops in the league in touchdowns and pass attempts and pass yards, and it's that kind of an offense where they're going up and down the field, like a Miami like Miami does. 21 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence has been off the whole year, and I've been saying it. I said this team does not inspire confidence in me. And now you go into the offseason with some questions. With some questions is, have you done enough on the offensive side to help Trevor Lawrence? I think you can do some things along that offensive line to give him better pass protection. But at the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to have to spend this offseason, this particular offseason, if he's going to ever make the jump into the upper echelon of quarterbacks, if Jacksonville is ever going to make the jump into the upper echelon of AFC teams going forward, because they still have a lot of young talent, a lot of good talent still on this team. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to make that leap. You cannot be turning the ball up. 21 interceptions is way too many interceptions to be having if you're talking about your team being elite. And Jacksonville, the defense was okay. Offense was okay, but when you have a team that turns the ball over like Jacksonville was turning the ball over, you got what you got, and you're gonna be at home, just like me, watching the rest of the playoffs on the couch, with a nice drink in your hand. With a nice drink in your hands, like I said, Jacksonville very disappointed. I thought they was gonna go out there, take care of business, understanding what the stakes were coming into that game, even before the Steelers won. Their game against the Ravens, even before that win, we need a win to win the division. We need a home game. Jacksonville has not been that good of a team on the road. Most teams play much better at home anyway, but Jacksonville is one of those teams that really need that home crowd to kind of push them. But this is it's going to be interesting what they do with this team in the offseason. And if you're a Jacksonville fan, can you move on now? I'm about to move on, Gator Girl. If you're a Jacksonville fan, I'm gonna leave you with this, Gator Girl. Is Trevor Lawrence the answer at quarterback? Supremely talented, but is he the answer long term at quarterback? Are you satisfied with the returns on Trevor Lawrence? But with that being said, I said I was going to move on. Another team that went out and disappointed in the final week of the season, considering what the stakes were. You got to say the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to say the Philadelphia Eagles went out like some chumps. This team was 10-1, and I was one of the few people. I need to pat myself on the back. I was one of the few people to say, hey, that 10-1 record was a mirage. This team is not as good as the record is saying. If you watched them play, it's holes, and eventually they got exposed. For this team to start out 10-1, had the best record in the NFL, was, had those fans talking about, yeah, we're going back to the Super Bowl, 10-1, we're dominating the league. Nah, those fans wasn't watching the games. And what you got coming down the stretch from Philadelphia is pitiful. Now you're even hearing people talk about, hey, Nick Sirianni might be on the hot seat a year after taking the team to a Super Bowl. You're hearing people talking about he may be on the hot seat based on the coaching job or lack of coaching job he's done. I've been saying it all year. Philadelphia has had holes. The offense don't look like it's been in sync, and the defense has progressively gotten worse as the season has gone on. And now you have injuries to factor into it. And we'll talk about their matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday. But depending on how these injury reports kind of shake out, I may not be picking the Eagles in that one. And to better illustrate, I got a little video. Trevor Elway's there. Hey, you a fan as long as you with it. But I got some video footage to kind of highlight some of the stuff that I've been saying, but I felt like you needed to hear from more of a professional analyst. So let's go ahead and roll that good being footage. It's always fair use.
Watch what's going on. First play of the game, Haason Reddick, the Eagles defense there in cover 2. Number 1, why is this player who has 4 consecutive seasons of 10-plus sacks dropping in coverage? But if he is going to drop in coverage, you have to understand the coverage assignment. Cover 2, eyes on the quarterback. Stay in coverage. You cannot blitz. You're not a blitzer. You are now a coverage player. Haason Reddick, you cannot vacate this zone, because if you trigger and you blitz, all of a sudden...
Let me pause it, because... I just wanted to highlight that Haason Reddick, your premier defensive rusher on the edge, your best edge rusher on this Philadelphia Eagles, one of the few bright spots of this Philadelphia Eagles defense. Why is this dude dropping back in coverage? This further highlights what I've been saying about Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff, the play callings, and the decisions that they're making. Why are you doing this stuff. But I'm gonna let him continue to break down the game take. Because like I said, I've been saying it all season. Sometimes you got to see it like this to fully understand what I've been saying.
Plus 20-yard gain. That's the first play of the game, family. Let's cut to later on in the game. Now, this is what we call the fire zone 3. It's a 3 deep, 3 under coverage concept. Cornerback, he's deep. Bradbury, he's deep. Safety off the screen, he's deep. Now, what you're going to see here, Josh Sweat, he is off of the number 3 wide receiver. Count from outside in. 1, 2. Saquon Barkley, he's going to be 3. Down safety, he's off the number 2 wide receiver. Count from outside in. 1, 2. Again, Saquon is 3. Let's see how this plays out. Now, Sweat, why they got this dude dropping in coverage? Sweat, he's like, okay, I'm off of number 3. I'm off of number 3, but here's the problem, America. He is now the number 3 receiver because the running back who was 3, he went to the flat, making him 2. The number 2 receiver who was 2, he came in, making him number 3. Josh Sweat, he has to just drop backwards because now count from outside in. 1, 2, 3, just like that, you got 2 dudes covering 1, plus 33-yard gain against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I told you, break out your vomit bags, it gets worse. Later on in the game, empty formation, you're going to see a quarters coverage look, which means this linebacker, number 52, he is the quarter flat defender on the number 2 wide receiver, quarter flat. You have him 12 yards vertically, collision him. If he goes to the flat, you got him to the flat. If he goes to the flat, you got him to the flat. Because if you don't take him to the flat, ain't nobody taking him to the flat. So I do not have a clue what the Eagles defense is doing. But I do know it is atrocious. It is awful. It is gross. I don't know what they're putting on tape. They look poorly coached. And Matt Patricia, Sean Desai, Nick Sirianni do not look like they have given these players enough repetitions to know how to cognitively play any sort of competent defensive football. I'm done.
Shout out to Ocho, right? Yes. That breaks it down perfectly. What I've been saying, play calling has been an issue for Philadelphia all season, and as they have come down the stretch, 1-5 down the stretch, and have looked bad. It's one thing to like lose close games and to very good teams. I can deal with that. If you're a fan of a team, hey, I can take a loss to a team, maybe one bad loss, but when you coming down the stretch like this, 10-1, and you guys just flamed out. Now here you are, week 18. The division is still in play. Dallas treated it so. Philadelphia didn't. Philadelphia went out there, played the starters for the first half. The way they played, you wouldn't think the starters was out there on the field. Had the New York Giants offense looking like the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl type offense. They was going up and down the field. How you allow Tyrod Taylor to just carve you up? But as you saw there, somebody that's breaking down the footage, guys just look lost. Why are you got guys playing out of position? Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick are pass rushers. They're not coverage guys. They have not been coverage guys up until this point. Why do you have them playing? And then when we're talking about some of these zone coverages, where you're talking about playing a cover 6, cover 9, a cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 shell, cover 4 quarters. Like when you're talking about playing these you want guys that are familiar with zone disciplines. This is part of the reason why the Cowboys early on, hey, Michael Parsons is a pass rusher. He may drop back into a simple coverage every blue moon, but no, your job is to get after the quarterback. That's what we hired you for. Even though you came into the league, as an off-ball linebacker, we made you an edge rusher. That's what you do. You don't see DeMarcus Lawrence playing off in coverage like this, being responsible for a zone in a complicated zone when you got guys that are moving. Nah. Eagles, like I said, based on when I get the team injury reports tomorrow, I'm gonna give you my. I don't know if the Eagles can get by Tampa Bay, but we'll talk about that on Thursday. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, my team, America's team, took care of business against the Washington Commanders. I'm satisfied with the offense. Defense, I'm concerned about. Washington was able to kind of move the ball up and down the field for stretches of this game. And one thing, and we'll talk about this when we do a detailed breakdown of the playoffs wild card round. I'm concerned about Green Bay because some of the things that Green Bay does well gives our defense problems. Gives our defense problems. Um, Biggest concern I have for my Cowboys, and I don't think they kind of shored that up. I don't think they kind of fixed that as they came down the stretch, was the ability to stop the run. You saw how the run affected them when they got smoked by Buffalo. You saw how the run affected them when they played Miami. You saw how the run was effective for stretches of the game against the Commanders this past Sunday. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about it, especially when you're talking about a Green Bay team that is it's funny because they play the same kind of style of offense that Philadelphia was playing last year. Um, a lot of attention is put into the run. A lot of attention is put into the play action, and it makes Jordan Love reads that much easier. I hope you were listening, Philadelphia fans. Make the quarterback's job easier. Um, But as we move forward with the rest of the games, like I said, congratulations to the Texans, who I did not see coming. Thought this team was going to be better than they were last year. I thought CJ Stroud was going to be an upgraded quarterback. I had faith in DeMeco Ryans being able to kind of change the culture, but I don't think anybody outside of a Texans fan would predict it that the Texans were not only going to be improved in all facets of the game, would end up winning the division, holding on. Late drop against for the Colts in the fourth quarter. Very good game. Both of these teams are on the rise. I think Texans are a year or two ahead of schedule. I think CJ Stroud probably locked up the offensive rookie of the year for me. Gets my vote, and records be damned. At the end of the day, you got to give DeMeco Ryans credit for changing the culture with the Texans. This Texas team has been downtrodden, especially following the Deshaun Watson debacle. And that Bill O'Brien era for DeMeco Ryans to come in and change the attitude and the culture of not only a team but a franchise. In that short of time deserves to be credited. Texans have a home game upcoming for Wild Card Weekend. I'm looking forward to that. CJ Stroud. Some people had him being, possibly the number one pick going into last year's draft. Carolina's got to be kicking themselves right now because they moved up, they traded up to get Bryce Young. And I don't know if Bryce Young is going to pan out considering what they're doing there in Carolina as far as personnel and head coaching and stuff. But I think CJ Stroud is off to a good start, barring injury. I think he's going to be slowly but surely moving into that upper echelon of quarterbacks sooner rather than later. He has a nice complement of weapons out there in Houston. Houston, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston win their first game. When their playoff game this upcoming weekend. I'm not betting against them. You do have a Browns team that comes in and it's going to be hot. Like I said, we'll get into that more detail, but Texans are a bit different team when they're at home. If this is a road game, I would pick against the Texans, but I'm not sure if I pick against the Texans, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the week. Like I said, Browns come in. They're going to be going on the road to play Houston. Didn't play the starters against the Bengals. Bengals went out there, had a nice performance, but nothing really to write home about. Cleveland had already locked up the number 5 seed in the AFC. Wasn't really pushing that hard. And you saw that not only with them, but you also saw that with the Baltimore Ravens, not really pushing that hard. It's a lot of starters didn't play. A lot of guys, bench players got reps. So it's nothing to write home about. I'm not making too much of that loss. Especially when you have a playoff position locked up. No need to risk it. No need to risk it. Speaking of a team risking it, Detroit Lions, what the hell were you doing? What the hell? I know you had an outside chance with the Cowboys loss to still get the number 2 seed, but why were you out there playing as you're playing your starters as hard? That's dead, Cam. I get it. You're one of those hard charging kind of guys, but had an injury happen to your Pro Bowl rookie tight end Laporta in a game that didn't really mean much. Didn't really mean much. I know you had an outside chance to get the number 2 seed, but why risk it? Why risk it? Why risk it? You had all kind of starters get nicked up in this game against the Vikings that didn't matter. And it may come back to bite Detroit. It may come back to bite Detroit. in their playoff matchup, because I'm not, we'll do that later in the week. You might call them upsets, but it's a lot of teams that coming in with the lower seeds. I might be picking them when you start breaking down these rosters. Speaking of being broken down, the Patriots, this is about the only thing notable about them. Patriots end off the season with a 17-3 loss against the Jets. The future of Bill Belichick is being discussed. It's been talked about. It's been reported that he's open to other options. When he being open to other options, meaning bringing somebody to come in and actually be like le GM. For the Patriots, it's also been talked with Mike Vrabel being fired as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. After 6 seasons, he's come out and said that he'd be open if the New England job came available. He'd be open to going to be the head coach up there. Robert Kraft has got a very important decision to make. Do you move on from, possibly the greatest NFL head coach of all time? I am of the opinion of this. The NFL is what have you done for me lately, and Belichick has not done much of anything lately. Now, if I'm Kraft, I've been saying this all season. If I'm Kraft, I come to Belichick. Hey, I want you to kind of gracefully bow out. I would hope that you would retire. I don't want to just outright fire you. I think you've earned, with your credentials, like you've earned, the way to walk out on your own. But if he's of the mindset he's going to still kind of do things his way, he's not going to really trying to change his philosophy of how he's coaching in this new age of football. Excuse me. In this new age of football, you got to move on. It may be tough, but I think the Patriots fans have been kind of bracing themselves for the past couple of years that eventually Belichick is going to be moving up out of here. And I hate to see him get forced out in that fashion, like I said, considering his credentials. But if it's time to, if you're not going to make real wholesale changes, I mean, bring in the GM. Bring in, have the GM kind of hire his own offensive coordinator, because, offense has looked bad. Defense has looked okay for New England, but the offense has looked bad. You need somebody to come in there, not a Josh McDaniels. Please do not bring him back if you're New England. Please do not bring him back. But you got to make some changes. New England picks very hard to draft. It's a very quarterback-rich draft as of right now. You might be, you're going to reset the clock at the quarterback position. Mac Jones, who I think is a decent quarterback, is obviously shown he's not the answer in New England. Belichick is shown that, hey, he needs help to catch up to today's game. When you watch the Patriots play, it's like watching old school football. It just doesn't work in today's NFL. You've got to be able to kind of add wrinkles into it. And you got to stay up to speed on what these most of these prolific teams are doing as far as like the offense. You got to kind of update your packages. You got to update your scheme, all of that kind of stuff. What are you doing? What's going on, Speak? Detroit going to Detroit? Yeah, I agree. I agree. They're gonna do what they do. But back to Belichick. Hey, if I'm Kraft, I have a conversation with him. I think it's time for us to move in another direction. Go ahead and bring in a new head coach, bring in a new starting quarterback, bring in a whole new philosophy, and realize that the quote-unquote Patriot way doesn't work no more. Patriot way stopped working when Tom Brady walked out the door. It stopped working when Tom Brady worked out the door. Update your thinking process there in New England and get it together. Speaking of getting together, Tampa Bay holding on for a 9-0 win against a very game Panthers team, who I think will be much better next year, but it is just a team that sucked. And Tampa Bay, I've got some concerns. The defense has played well all year, and it's going to be a very interesting matchup when we're talking about that Bucs defense going against that struggling Philadelphia offense this upcoming week for wild card. But the offense is probably the most concerning thing for me as a Bucs fan. To play a Carolina team you didn't have nothing to play for. You try to get into an offensive rhythm. The offense has been kind of I know Baker Mayfield's been kind of struggling with injuries, but I thought they would have a much better offense performance. And it was a close game all the way up until the fourth quarter. It was a close game all the way up until the fourth quarter. And you would think Buccaneers would have played with more of a sense of urgency, considering that, hey, you needed to win to kind of get in, and not depend on outside help. I'm not, on the confidence scale of 1 to 10 as far as Tampa Bay going into this playoffs. I'm looking at them as a 5, but if I want to look at them as a 5, I got to look at Philadelphia around that same scale. It's going to be an interesting matchup between them two when we're talking about the Bucs defense against the offense, but Buccaneers offense is got to be concerning for Buccaneers fans going into the playoffs. It's got to be concerning for the Buccaneers fans going into the playoffs. You had the Packers taking care of business against a very good Chicago team coming down the stretch that was, kind of heated up too late. Justin Fields' future is kind of up in the air. When you talk to Chicago fans, they're either, hey, get rid of Justin Fields and draft Caleb Williams, number 1, or trade the number 1 pick and build around Justin Fields going into the future. I'm not sure what direction they'll go. I have no issue. I think Justin Fields is a very talented quarterback. I think you can win with Justin Fields, but I'm not sure if the scheme and play calling that they got going on in Chicago is going to lead to that. And this is one of those years, they come around every so often when we're talking about teams that need quarterbacks. This is one of those years that is very quarterback rich, especially towards the top of the draft and even into the second and third round. This is a very quarterback rich draft. This is not one of those years that you want to skip out on a quarterback and think, we'll just get one next year if need be. So Chicago's in a very tough spot. But enough about Chicago and their future, the future of the Packers. Going into Big D to play the Cowboys, and like I said, I'm concerned. I'm concerned by the way Jordan Love has been playing, how this offense, how this offense kind of operates. It could give us problems. As Cowboys fans, could give us problems as Cowboys fans. We'll dive deeper into that later on this week. So make sure you tune in for that show. Kind of wrapping up the rest of the games. Rams take down the 49ers. You wasn't playing anybody. 49ers weren't really playing those starters, but the Rams team, I'm glad the Cowboys got them early in the year. I'm glad they got them early in the year because the Rams have been one of the better teams coming down the stretch. You may not hear about them. They're not a sexy pick. They're not all over your ESPNs and all of that kind of stuff. But you gotta respect what they've done, considering that most people didn't have them really competing for a playoff spot with all the young players that they had come in, but those young players stepped up and stepped in and showed out. Rams Lions, woo, return to Matt Stafford to Detroit. Oh man, could Stafford write the perfect end to his story in Detroit season this weekend, man. And we'll talk about it because I might be picking the Rams. But we'll talk about that later on in the week. But I might be picking. I've been high on the Rams. I've been telling you guys, hey, watch out for the Rams. Watch out for the Rams. They quietly been playing some very good football, very consistent football on both sides. And Matthew Stafford is, had worked his way into the fringes of the MVP race. So, don't be fooled by the Rams. Don't think they're going to be a guaranteed one and done because, they got the recipe. They got the formula to make it into the, a deep playoff run. Got a quarterback playing at the level that Matthew Stafford is playing at right now. You gotta love it. Speaking of gotta love it, Buffalo Bills fans, you gotta be happy with the performance that you had Sunday night against the Dolphins. Defense came in. It took them a minute to kind of get it together, but they put the clamps on a very high speed Miami offense, and it's kind of just locked them up in the second half of that game. You saw the Bills defense. It took them a minute to kind of get it together. They was kind of apprehensive, but once they got it, got a bead on how this Dolphins offense was going to be running in this game, downhill, guys were attacking at the point and getting after it. And Buffalo, after a weird kind of stretch in the middle of the season where, we didn't know if this team was going to be making the playoffs, secured the number 2 seed in the AFC. Buffalo's going to be a tough out. That is not a place that you want to go play, especially this time of year. I think they've had some inclement weather already this week. It's been reported that more is coming. Buffalo could be could be where Josh Allen is kind of reasserted himself the last couple of games as far as like his rhythm and his impact on the game. Buffalo could be a hard out. And you got to be disappointed a bit if you're the Dolphins. Had a good win against the Cowboys coming down the stretch, but it's something about the Dolphins that just doesn't inspire confidence in them. This is one of those teams that play too finesse for me. I think if you want to win in the NFL, and the formula has always been, you got to win at the line of scrimmage. You got to win with your offensive line. You got to win with your defensive line. And something about how Miami plays is very NCAA-ish to me. Like, they don't play with a nastiness. They don't play with a mean streak in them, and it shows when they play against real quality teams that have that kind of a mindset to come in and want to smash them in the mouth. We got a big test going up to Kansas City. Defending Super Bowl champions at home. Finally, yeah, NCAA-ish. To me, it is Gator Girl. I mean, and it's nothing wrong. It's a beautiful thing to watch when you're watching it on Sunday. But I know playoff time is like the NBA. Yeah, it's free flowing during the regular season. The guys are going up and down the court scoring. But come playoff, you gotta have your defense. The teams that win and have deep runs have defense, and it's the same in the NFL. And Miami just doesn't give me that kind of energy. Now they coming in this wild card weekend against a Chiefs team. What's going on, TC? You a Cowboy fan, so that's so brand. Hey, Gator Girl, I told you, Green Bay concerns me. Green Bay concerns, even though I'm gonna pick the boys because that's my team, and I think they're the better team. Green Bay concerns me because their style of offense can give us problems. If you can run the ball against the Cowboys, you have a very good chance of winning that game. If you can consistently run the ball, you have a very good chance of winning that game. So I'm not gonna lie to you, Gator Girl. This is the analyst speaking, not the fan. This is the analyst speaking, not the fan. I'm concerned about Green Bay for Wild Card Weekend. Jordan Love has been on a bit of a hot streak. He seems like he's got it. The game is kind of slowed down for him the later part of the season. They have a lot of speed at the wide receiver positions. This is a team that is committed to running the football. And that opens up, not only with the run game, opens up the play action for them. I don't look at Green Bay as an easy lick. I don't. Defense, it has been, quietly one of the better defenses in the league. I'm not looking past Green Bay. Green Bay concerns me. I ain't gonna lie to you. If I had to pick between Green Bay and New Orleans, who didn't make the playoffs, I would have took the Saints. Because the Saints are not that consistent as far as like what kind of style they want to run on the offensive side of the ball. Green Bay has figured out who they are, what they want to be, and the defense is coming along with them. But it's always Super Bowl or bust for all of them. Yeah, Coach, y'all. I think y'all might be one and done, but we'll talk about that because it's not like Tampa Bay looks strong coming down the stretch either. But I wanted to ask this question. Like when I look back at this season, when I was like, who's the biggest surprise? When I look at how teams played and how teams ended up performing over the course of the year, who do I think is the biggest surprise? And for me, it's kind of a tie. I got the Texans and the Rams. I don't think, when you looked at their rosters at the beginning of the season, if you missed that, go check it out on the channel. It's all up there. When we broke down those rosters and looked at them, I don't think anybody had either of these teams making the playoffs. Considering that the Texans is out there with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. The Rams were out there. Yeah, you had to return to Matthew Stafford, but you didn't have any of the weapons that he's used to having. The defense was a lot of young, unproven guys. We thought, and it was a rough start to the season for the Rams. But to me, those are the biggest surprises. Biggest surprises of the season has got to be Texans and Rams for me, and it's a tie. Probably the biggest disappointment, and I know Gator Girl's going to hate me to say this, but it's got to be Jacksonville because, considering what they had going on in the division, had two rookies starting at the quarterback position, Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud. Not much was expected of them with rookies at the position. You had Trevor Lawrence, who was coming into the season, was the best quarterback in that division, and some were getting ready to put him into the top 10, that upper echelon. Tennessee was clearly a team that's going to be middle of the road at best. I paid Jacksonville, and for you to be at 8-3 and miss the playoffs, has got to probably be the biggest disappointment of the season because considering what you had going into the season, a lot of people and including me picked Jacksonville to win the division based on you had the best quarterback. Excuse me, going into the season. On paper, you guys had the best defense. You added talent on both sides of the ball, and you guys were coming off a playoff win. Like it was all set up for you. You was in position to challenge for the number one seed in the AFC, and you just fell off the wagon. Probably the second biggest disappointment, and I know you Eagles fans was probably expecting this, but for you guys to start 10-1, and I had been up here banging. I figured you come up on that. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I ain't got my headphones in and I'm driving, so hopefully it'll be all good. What's up with you?
Not much, man. It's getting ready for wild card weekend coming up, man. What's going on with you? What's the vibe in Philly after that debacle of a game against the Giants, man?
Well, like I told you the other day, man, we kind of off it right now, man. Really, it really, it's kind of like the air got sucked out of us, man. Like you said, 10-1 start, finish 1-5.
Yeah,
bad. You have some bad loss.
Okay, there you go with the Borgen and shit. But since you're up here, and you
right now, everybody. Well, right now everybody's 0-0, and when you look at these any given Sunday, like they changed the format a little bit where only one team gets a bye week now. So, besides that one team having that week off of an advantage, like a bye week, just to get healthy or whatnot. It's really about the hottest teams going into the playoffs, man. I've learned that over the last few years. And, it's funny because I just did an interview with my man Southwest White, right? White boy, right? I know him from the gambling world here, like gambling underworld here in Philly, right? Mm-hmm. And like this motherfucker, he could pick a winner, right? This motherfucker, I mean, like he's tight work. The interview should be out like in a couple of days from now, right?
Okay.
He got the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl.
I mean,
no bullshit. And you know what? What he said makes sense. Like the road to it. It's kind of strange how he got him going, but it's not through San Francisco though. That's the funny thing. Like
Yeah, I've been hearing some people say that. A lot of people are picking like the Rams to kind of play spoiler. I think how the playoff kind of break, the Rams would get San Francisco's second round if they win. And I've been saying it all year. Rams is don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them.
Well, the Rams just beat them this past weekend, but that was a meaningless game, San Francisco. So, yeah. I don't know, but like I said, and I mean, this is before any wild card game. He got the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl, but losing to Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Ain't that crazy?
Well, not this crazy. I mean, because Baltimore comes in as the overwhelming favorite going into the playoffs.
No, not Baltimore. I said Buffalo.
Oh no, I don't. I mean, Buffalo could. Josh Allen is kind of heated up.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is an X factor player. He is an X factor player, but I don't. If all roads got to go through Baltimore, I don't see nobody going into Baltimore and beating them dudes, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I brought that up to him. I said, one hardball already won a national championship. The other hardball might win, and you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it lines up for Baltimore to do it. But you never know. You never know. I just keep an eye out for that. A Buffalo Cowboys Super Bowl. Just keep an eye out for that.
I mean, it's not that far of a reach. Buffalo played, especially coming down the stretch, played very well coming down the stretch. As far as like winning the games they were supposed to win and looking good against good teams. But Baltimore, I'm just when you watch the tape on what Baltimore is doing,
Yeah.
what Baltimore is doing, like this is a team that punches you in the mouth on both sides of the ball all game long.
Right. Who would be your sleeper though? Because I look at Detroit and I say, is Jared Goff really, ready to take that leap? Or, because that game is real intriguing with Goff against Stafford. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Rams Lions game. That's an intriguing game right there.
I wouldn't pick Detroit, and I've been high on Detroit all year. I wouldn't pick them to make a Super Bowl run just for the simple fact they started to turn the ball over way too much. And Dan Campbell, listen, I get having the guts to go for it, but sometimes you got to reward your team for the effort. Like they should have beat Dallas. They should have beat Dallas. And I'm not even talking about the call at the end of the game. They had a chance. They was down in the red zone. It was like a 4th and 3, and Dan Campbell goes for it. Hey, reward your defense for playing that. Reward your offense. Get points at that point in the game. Like you don't have to. He's going to cost his coaching decision is going to cost them a game in this playoffs, and it may be the first game because when you really kind of look at who's kind of hot as far as like NFC is concerned, you got to put the Rams in the conversation. Just this is a Rams team that almost beat Buffalo. Not Buffalo, but almost beat Baltimore. Later in the season, they almost beat Baltimore later in the season, and we're talking about that was overtime win by Baltimore on a punt return. Like.
Right.
They put up about 30-some plus points against that good Baltimore defense. Matthew Stafford is he's one of them ones, and he's got a Super Bowl ring to prove it. I just like how when you watch them, like I said, it's not a lot of household names, but all those young guys that needed to stepped up this year. Like it's
right.
I don't think anybody.
Hey, what's your thoughts on Jameis Winston?
I don't have a problem with it. And and his teammates have kind of come out and backed him up after the fact.
Right.
I think Jameis. I don't want to make it sound like a conspiracy, but part of me thinks like dude has been blackballed. For him to be not really being seriously looked at to have a starting option to be a starting quarterback in this league is something's going on.
Right.
Like you mean to tell me Jameis Winston couldn't have been a starting quarterback for the Raiders this year? Like he'll turn the ball over, but he'll put you in a position to play some winning football. I mean,
not just that. I mean, look at all these other bad quarterbacks in the league. I mean, come on, dude. Like Baker, like we're going up against Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, you got a wounded animal in Baker Mayfield who hasn't played that well over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Comes in with a lot of injuries. I want to say you got like a hurt ankle, some ribs, got a rib injury. But your defense. I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show when I was showing the footage. Like I don't know what you guys are calling on defense, because if you come in there with that same defensive game plan that you had against the Giants, even though it's Baker Mayfield, he can He's a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor, and he has better.
Like I said, we kind of checked out. If they make the second round, I think people will be happy here in Philly. You know what I'm saying? Just give us something to look for. Just another week or two of some interesting NFL games. But the expectations is real low here in Philly, surprisingly.
Well, I mean, now, you guys look like trash coming down the stretch, man. You guys look bad.
But I'm gonna tell you what, though, right? This is the type of team that'll make the NFC Championship game and have everybody hopes up high and then just get smoked. You know what I'm saying? In the championship game. You know what I'm saying? Not even the Super Bowl. But I'm talking about win 2 games and have everybody here, back believing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the worst possible scenario is us against Dallas in the championship game. And, we losing the Dallas, you know what I'm saying? But again, like I said, man, anything's possible. Well, what's your thoughts on Cleveland, though? Because I like Cleveland's defense, dude. I like their defense. I think Joe Flacco's getting a little bit too much credit. Anything to make Deshaun Watson look like a complete, incompetent quarterback. But
I get what you Mr. Conspiracy Theorist. Cleveland's defense has been good all year. Flacco has his offense operating at a high level. Let's say Deshaun Watson looked bad this year. In his starts this year, same personnel. The team just a little bit. I don't know if it's him still trying to get the rust off, but Deshaun Watson looked bad this year. Like the team, even without Flacco starting, when they had PJ Walker starting, they had DTR starting the quarterback. The offense looked a tad bit better than when Deshaun was in there.
Because they run the ball, man. Like people, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my biggest pet peeves about any offense, right, that looks efficient. When an offensive coordinator starts to establish a run game, like a run first mentality, like get his quarterback in 2nd and 5 and 2nd and 4s. Anybody could look good and really manage a team that way.
Deshaun Cleveland's had a running game all year. Even when Chubb went out, they had a running game.
But they wasn't doing it effectively like they doing with Joe Flacco. Come on,
Flacco. No, I'm telling you, when you watch Cleveland play, Cleveland was struggling with Deshaun Watson. Like it was taking him too long. He was holding on to the ball too long. It was taking him too long to get into his reads. They make the game. The game gets easier because teams are having to drop guys and down into the box. And Flacco understands, hey, I've got skilled players on the outside. Just get the ball to them and let them operate. Njoku had a hell of a season with Flacco as his quarterback. Had a hell of a season.
But again, I don't know. Maybe you're not seeing what I'm seeing, right? When you start to see these offensive coordinators, commit to the run. I mean, like early in the game, establish the run. You know what I'm saying? That makes a quarterback's job easier. When I see quarterbacks chucking the ball 30 to 38 times a game, say, man, like, come on, man, you kind of setting them up for failure. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't see Joe Flacco have to throw up 30 to 35, 40 attempts, man. And there's some reason behind that, man.
The team plays good defense. The team runs the ball, and he's putting the ball into the hands of the playmakers. They're not. I'm telling you, if you go back and watch the tape, Deshaun was holding the ball way too long. A lot of those games, he looked bad, and people were like, that was one of those people. Hey man, he needs to shake the rust off. He needs to get back to rhythm. It just never materialized for him this year. And Cleveland, what do you do? Because God forbid. Flacco takes them on a deep playoff run. Some people already been calling for the removal of Deshaun Watson anyway, but his contract make that damn near impossible to do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they want him in the league anymore anyway. I mean, I'm just being honest.
No, I don't think so either. But his contract makes it damn near impossible. I mean, because First quarterback that I've known to have his whole contract fully guaranteed.
Right.
Fully guaranteed. You're talking about eating roughly about 180 million that you can't like this, spread out and all that.
But I want you to do this, right? I want you to do this, right? I want you to look at the stats. All right. Let's just simplify this. Look at the stats and look at how many attempts Deshaun Watson had per game, and look at Joe Flacco, and you will see a difference. And I'm telling you now, right? Because you will see that there's a significant difference. Not probably not by much enough to really raise an eyebrow, but trust me, it's something there. And I've always noticed this, man. Like when the coordinator really puts the game, I mean, like I said, man, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, even 2nd and 6, that's manageable for any quarterback to succeed. Any decent quarterback. And Flacco's been a decent quarterback his whole career. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I'm saying is this: the game plan was a lot different. And I get it. Deshaun Watson is a much more dynamic, supposedly a dynamic quarterback. But if you don't I don't care how good he is, because I remember Andy Reid used to do this with McNabb. And we like, yo, why do you got McNabb just, out there saving your bacon? You know what I'm saying? So, won the brawl with Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't do that. And he relied so much on McNabb. And McNabb couldn't be perfect. You know what I'm saying? And when he made those mistakes, he was always made out to be the scapegoat. But if it was just something simple, like when he had one year, McNabb got hurt and Jeff Garcia was our quarterback, right? He was our quarterback going into the playoffs. And I saw the difference between how Andy Reid called the game for Garcia than he did with McNabb. He established the run first. And it made Garcia look real good. It made him look like he would, but Garcia could not go out and win the game. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't good enough. But again,
well, hold on. So I'm looking at the stats now, and they actually threw the ball more with Flacco as a quarterback. They actually threw the ball more attempts per game when Flacco became the starter. Roughly about
how many games did Watson play this year?
Let me go pull that up. Yeah, because he didn't. Deshaun Watson stats. I want to say Watson played 1, 2, 3, 4.
Give me Watson's attempts for I think he only played like what, 3 or 4 games?
No, he played 6. He played 6.
And what was his attempts per game?
Okay, hold on. Okay, so September 10th. Let's see here. He had 29 attempts one game, 40 attempts another game, 33 attempts another game. 22nd, he got hurt, then he came back. It was 37 attempts in that game. That was the 5th and the 12th.
So we went from 29 to 40. So let's say 35. All right, now give me the first. Give me some of Flacco's attempts, like his first 4 games starting this year.
Okay, hold on. All right, Flacco. Okay, let me see. Start from December 3rd. 44, 45, 45, 44.
Wow.
Yeah, I said it through the ball. You know what I mean? Like
over 40?
Yeah.
Damn.
40. And he had and when you look at his stats, he had a slightly lower completion percentage. I mean, this slightly lower than
so that's 40. That's 40 compared to so 40. How many did he complete?
Let's see. His game. Let me see. Let me go back. Pull up Flacco. Start for the Flacco was first game 23 of 44, 26 of 45, 29 of 45, 28 of 44. Yeah.
What about the rushing attempts them games?
Let me see.
That's a lot though. 45. Wow. They had Flacco throwing the ball up 45 times.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here.
Must have been a lot of screens.
Right, it was a lot of screens. Let's see. When they had Flacco at quarterback, 23 rushing attempts, 28, 18, 30. You go to Deshaun, they was running the ball 40, 35, 31, 25.
That's about even. That's about even.
Yeah,
Shit. Yeah, maybe Flacco is having a good year. How about that?
I'm telling you, when you break down the stats and you actually watching this, he just looked hesitant back there, man. He just looked hesitant back there. Flacco is like, he's playing with house money. No expectations. His legacy is secured. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's playing with the house money.
I don't know. I just saw because I only caught like a few Browns games, and it just seemed like they called it different for Flacco than they did for Watson. That was just just the eye test. But now that you're running down the numbers, like man, like that's tough, man. That's tough. I can't even make no excuses for this nigga. God damn it.
Yeah, and I'm a Deshaun Watson fan, but I was like, he looked bad, and I was just watching, in the eyes of analysts, like he looked bad this year. It's like he get back there, and there was a lot of scrambling. He didn't have his legs like he used to have. Like you would think he was just coming off the couch. Like he just never looked right. And like I said, the offense played better when he was out. Offenses played better when he was out.
Yeah, but I think they defense is really what carries that team. Like that's the identity, with Miles Garrett and all of them. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them take a deep run into the playoffs, though. I really wouldn't. Some people, right? Because I don't know how the AFC picture lines up, but they got them going into Baltimore, and Joe Flacco beating his old team. You know what I'm saying? How crazy is that?
Because if they beat the Texans, hold on, let me look. If they beat the Texans, they would have to. They would get the Baltimore give the lower seed. So let's say Chiefs win, Cleveland wins, and Bills win this weekend. Yeah, they would go to. They would be the lower. They would be the lower seed, and they would go to Baltimore, second round.
And what if Flacco goes in there and beats motherfucking Baltimore, dude?
I mean, the storylines are. I mean, you're one of those people that think the NFL is scripted. The storylines are just writing themselves. You got Packers, Cowboys, Mike McCarthy coaching against his old team. Stafford going into Detroit could possibly end their season. Then the story of Joe Flacco going into Baltimore, probably if things break and could possibly end their season.
But it's just not that though. Baltimore's the old Browns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So here it is, the new Browns. You know what I'm saying? Like Flacco going to beat. It's just it lines up perfectly for that to happen. And if it does happen, like, you really have to admit to that the NFL is scripted like a motherfucker. Hey, that should be ridiculous.
I mean, it sets up, but it's going to be. I mean, it's when I look at the schedule for Wild Card Weekend, I favor a couple teams, but I mean, a lot of these games can go either way. Cleveland.
I got Cleveland beating Houston.
Well, I would pick them, but I wouldn't look past Houston. And I think, you would be, you don't underestimate Houston because they got a good team there. And Stroud, when he gets it going, and they got a good, defense, and DeMeco Ryans knows how to download. I think it's a bad matchup for the Texans. For a first round game, it's a bad matchup, but they're at home. I don't see the Steelers beating the Bills, not without no TJ Watt. I don't see that happening. But the Steelers the offenses look good since Mason Rudolph has been the starter, and he's been named the starter for the playoff. And Buffalo has been known to play down to the competition. Like it's a lot of intriguing matchups. This for the wild card. I think this Super Bowl is it's going to be interesting. This run to the Super Bowl is going to be interesting because you can make a case for Green Bay making a run. You can make a case for the Rams or the Lions making a run. The Chiefs could get hot, had that championship experience. Dolphins could, offense could get. I mean, it's a lot of interesting things that could happen during this playoff run, though. I'm waiting. I'm here for it, though.
Yeah, I'm here for it. What's your thoughts on you saw the Michigan Washington game?
I did. I would say this. Michigan would have made it a game, but I didn't look at either of those teams being better than Georgia.
You know what? A lot of people was upset about the Florida State. I think Georgia was the team that got holes for real. And they was good all year. You know what I'm saying? And
it's when you have
that many spots, though.
You had to, though, because they've always made it. They put a lot of emphasis on being a conference champion. I don't think if you asked anybody who were the 4 best teams in the country, and you not put Georgia into that conversation, would smoke.
Exactly. That's the thing. Their excuse for leaving Florida State out was that Florida wasn't one of the best 4 teams. But then I gotta say, Georgia's not one of the best 4 teams in the nation. I mean, come on.
But the counter argument was they didn't win the conference. But they're expanding the playoffs now. So,
of course. I mean, what is it? The 12 teams now?
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, but I think. I
don't think Michigan. It'd have been a better game with Michigan, but that Washington team would have got blew off the ball playing against Georgia. I ain't gonna make no excuse on that. I've seen enough of Georgia all year long watching college football to know that they would have manhandled that Washington team.
College football never got it right. I remember back when they didn't have a playoffs, and they still couldn't get the national champion right. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just even when they go to the 12-team format, they're gonna find some way to fuck it up.
Well, I mean, I'm of the mindset of this. You really should put more credence into a team's non-conference schedule. Like if you're one of those teams that has an outside chance and you want to kind of alleviate some of those concerns as far as like strength of schedule when we get towards the end of the season, you got to start playing chumps. The SEC is different because SEC can have about 6 or 7 teams that's ranked at one time throughout the year. So you're playing ranked competition. These other conferences don't have that advantage. You got Michigan, Ohio State, maybe Penn State, and it's the rest. You got Oregon, Washington, then the rest. Like you guys have got to beef up your non-conference because the SEC can say, "Hey, we play ranked teams damn near every week."
I would say I think the SEC is overrated though, dude. I think they've been overrated for a long time, bro.
Nah,
they've been overrated for a long time, man. I mean, here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you why. Those dudes, I wouldn't say like the Pac-12 because they be a little iffy. They play a lot of finesse ball out in the West Coast. But the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten for a couple of years has been better than the SEC, man.
No,
man, that's just my opinion.
I can't co-sign that. I can't co-sign. They've closed the gap. Big Ten has closed the gap, but Georgia would have beat any team out there in this college football playoff. So you think they would have beat Michigan? Yeah. I would have had them beat Michigan. If you watch the game, Michigan offensive line was able to kind of manhandle Washington because they was a little light in the ass. Georgia is a different animal, man.
Michigan, Ohio State, man, they've been good. They've had some real good teams. You know, a lot, man, a lot. And
I hear you, but trust me, I watch enough SEC football. No, that's a different breed of football, man. That is a
because
different.
you know what? Because LSU ain't been really that great in a long time. Auburn haven't really been that great in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
You know?
but you're talking about LSU, but Alabama has been great for a long time. Georgia has been great the last 3 years. Yeah,
That's it.
I'm telling you. I mean, but even LSU won with Joe Burrow at quarterback, what 2 or 3 years ago. Like college football playoff has been, for the better part of the
That's
time.
like what? Joe Burrow. That was like what, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, but that was the LSU team that ran roughshod over everybody, smoked everybody.
I don't know, man. Like I'm over that SEC bullshit, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Every it gotta be SEC. That's what got them in trouble this year. You know what I'm saying? Because they had to have this SEC dominant. And like I said, I believe Georgia should have been one of the top 4 schools because they was good all year, but I mean, they just put way too much like credence to that conference.
But it's not even that. You how do you have a national championship tournament and the number one conference is the representative from the number one conference is not there? If you win the SEC, you're pretty much guaranteed a spot in the college football playoffs. Whether it was 4 teams, 2 teams, 12 teams, you're guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. When you look at like you look at the preseason top 25, you see about 5 or 6 SEC teams there on a routine basis. Georgia's already been on.
Hold on. The SEC non-conference, they lost a lot of non-conference games though.
Yeah, I mean they play a tough. SEC plays a tougher schedule than most people because they have to kind of go out and beef up the non-conference games, to kind of jump up in their own. Georgia is already number one. Is already preseason ranked number 1 team right now. Already, like they're ranking. They're already number 1, even though they didn't even play in the playoffs. They're number 1 going into next season. I mean, it's hard to when you watch them out on the field dominate teams. Like
that was like back in the day in basketball. Remember the ACC used to all like Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech.
Everybody had to catch up.
But the Big East was always better than them, bro.
Big East was deeper. Big East at that time was a deeper conference.
Teams like Connecticut always proved it when it came to the tournament time. Always proved that the Big East was better than the ACC.
Yeah, but the Big East at that time had a lot, had comparable talent at the same time. SEC, come on, man. You're talking about, those guys when they go to an SEC school, they're looking at, hey, I know I'm gonna be looked at for the draft playing here. I mean, you got guys that have one good year at Alabama go first round.
Yeah. I mean, like we got like the mini Bulldogs on our squad.
They have one good year. They've been sat on the bench first 2 years, have one good year the junior year, and like, oh yeah, the talent is. I mean, they just ooze talent in SEC teams, man. I mean, you think about some of the best players in the NFL, SEC. Joe Burrow. You can have Joe Burrow quarterback, Jamar Chase at wide receiver. I mean, the list goes on.
Well,
your quarterback is for me.
That hype opportunity, dude. But I mean, all the best players don't come from SEC.
I mean, your team is pretty much the SEC North. I mean, you got Hurts from Alabama, Devontae from Alabama. I want to say AJ Brown played at Ole Miss. We're not even talking about the guys you got on your defensive side.
And look how they coming up short.
You blame that on your coach. Maybe if you had an SEC coach, you'd be doing something.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Listen, the way these what they call these NIL deals, I don't think the SEC is going to be on top much longer, bro.
Please, they bringing in Texas and Oklahoma, all that money coming in with them.
Oh man, listen.
SEC, let me tell you something. When you look, I want you to do this. Look at the TV deal money that the SEC gets on their own, and you be thinking it's like, damn, why not just go solo? Because they don't really need the NCAA to make money.
They don't.
They sell out. They got their own network. They don't need the AB, and
the Big Ten got their own network too, though.
But it don't hit like the SEC.
But dude, only thing it takes. See, this is the thing, man. Now that there's money involved, all it takes is somebody to just start really breaking the bank and really start putting that money out there. You know what I'm saying?
Only one that could compete is maybe Pac-10. As far as money, when you're talking about Phil Knight in Oregon, that kind of money. But Texas coming in, you got Texas coming in. Texas A&M like that. Texas, I'm telling you,
yo. Football in the Midwest with Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State.
It don't compare to football. I'm telling you, it do not compare to football in the South, man. I'm telling you.
Bro, they'll spend that money though in the Midwest.
They'll spend more than that in the South just to keep them.
I mean, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, that money that these NIL Johns. Everybody it's all fair game now. It's all fair game.
It gives them a better chance to compete.
The transfer portal, oh my God, man! Like
it gives them a chance. It gives everybody in the transfer portal. This makes it easier for the players to move around. But NIL, I mean, it was just their way of saying we know you guys are getting paid anyway. I mean, you're talking about it's only a few programs that can generate that the USCs. It's only a few programs that can generate that kind of money. You're talking about SEC, you're talking about Texas, Texas A&M, Florida.
Yeah, the Pac-12 too. You're right. USC, all of them. Come on, bro. You know out West Coast. Or I think is Nike still like sponsoring Oregon or some shit?
Yeah, I mean Nike. I mean Oregon is one of the few teams that can say, we can offer you, a real good NIL deal. But these guys know, man. SEC. Hey, young man, you're gonna be looked at for the draft, and you can make millions on your NIL.
But see, here's the thing, though, right? You got to look at it, right? A lot of these, big recruits, man, they go to like Alabama, Georgia, and they ride on the bench for like the first 2-3 years. You go somewhere else, you can get that exposure right away, man.
But even riding the bench, I mean, even riding that money. Think about it. Bryce Young wasn't the starter all his years in college and #1 overall pick. Hell, Mac Jones wasn't the starter all his years in college, top pick, first round pick. And we're just talking about the quarterback positions. Like, some you can be a backup on a very, very hell. Your Eagles team, Jalen Carter wasn't the starter his freshman year. Nolan Smith wasn't the starter his freshman year. Big Jordan Davis wasn't the starter his freshman. Devontae wasn't the freshman starter his freshman year. It's something about all they got to do is get one good season in. And
but see, they wasn't you naming guys that wasn't a part of this NIL thing that's just taking off now. You know what I'm saying? So now
you're going to get money. They're going to trust me. NIL, and that's why they was afraid of Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, because that makes them even more powerful. That's even more money flooding in into that conference. Like, I mean, you got to. I mean, think about it. A team like Kentucky would be, probably leading another conference if they were somewhere else, but they're in the SEC. And nobody talks about it, and they have good years. Tennessee's the same way. Like it is. SEC is like SEC and everybody else.
Bro, again, this I don't know. You see it one way. I see this as them possibly losing their stronghold on this shit.
I'm telling you, it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
All right, we're gonna see. We're gonna definitely see, man. We're gonna definitely see because probably not the Big Ten, more like the Pac-12. I see them really, and again, you know, Dion, ain't he out in the Pac-12?
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
We need give him out about three more seasons. He might have the team that he wants up in Colorado, but you know, when we're talking about NIL and you know competing, like Georgia's going to be Georgia, Alabama is going to be Alabama. I mean,
I don't know, man. You know, like you
Michigan,
got
hell,
Michigan, like you know,
Michigan may be losing Harbaugh, so you might be, you know, that program going to take a step back. It's going to take it. You lose Harbaugh as the head coach, Michigan's going to take a step back.
they'll be all right.
I mean, they'll be all right, but you won't be creme de la creme. You know where you headed, where you possibly could be headed if Harbaugh stay. You could have, you know, Alabama North up there. The way that he's been able to build that program and recruit. We'll see. All right, let me get my ass about it, man.
Yeah, I'm about to get up off here, man. Nice talking. Yeah, my bad last week, man. I caught COVID, man. My whole shit was all fucked up, but I feel better now. So, you know,
oh man, you good, man. You good. Come. Hey, we're gonna be breaking down the games on Thursday. You know, tune in for that one. You know, wild card games, and I may slide a show. I may slide a little NBA into there. You know, John Morant going for the year.
Yeah. You know, I'm a little upset with the NBA, man. Like it's.
We'll talk about it.
It's making too obvious that it's rigged. Like, what the fuck? Like every player's shaving points in the NBA, man. I swear to God, dude. It's ridiculous.
I guess the parlays ain't hitting, huh?
No, dude, trust me, bro. It's not even the gambling, dude. I mean, you can literally sit there and watch. Like, come on, man. Like, I mean, these motherfuckers is really out here shaving points. You know, the boy Maverick Carter just got caught up in some gambling bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, y'all gotta be this fucking obvious. But you know, yeah, well, I'll talk to you about it though.
Yeah, we'll chop it up later on that for sure. Because you know, as the NFL stuff wind down, you know, we're gonna crank up the NBA shit over here. So
yeah. All right, man. You have a good one, bro.
You too now.
All right.
All right, man. Appreciate it, brother. Ghost coming up, chopping it up, man. It's always interesting to talk sports, man, especially with you Eagles fans. I can hear the pain in his voice. All right, let me get my ass up out of here. Hey, man, same bat time, same bat channel Thursday. Looking forward to wild card weekend. I may not be doing a show over here on Friday. Be expecting NBA content to start, trickulating over here as we, I have a little bit more free time. We'll be doing that. As always, like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it, man. Any of y'all for the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.